All right, let's jump right into today's explainer. We're unpacking a framework that pretty much challenges everything we think we know about mental illness, crime, and justice. It's this wild, unconventional blend of sociology and spiritual karma. And honestly, whether you agree with it or not, it's going to force us to ask some really tough questions about the human condition. So let's figure this out together. We're starting with a visceral, real-world catalyst. A citizen basically asks this incredibly difficult personal question about how to help their isolated neighbor. They describe living above a man with schizophrenia who lives with his 83-year-old mother. The mom leaves during the day, right? But the son is trapped inside. He's occasionally shouting these incomprehensible speeches, literally hitting the walls with blunt objects in the middle of the night. And the person asking this, they don't feel anger. Actually, it's more of a profound sense of pity, this feeling that society has completely abandoned him. So, what should we do? Well, here is where things get genuinely shocking. Instead of looking at this neighbor as a medical anomaly to just be quietly medicated and hidden away, this framework argues that severe illness isn't an aberration at all. No, it says that individuals struggling with severe mental illness or even those committing crimes are actually sacrifices. They are literally bearing the extreme burden of showing society exactly where it's failing.
Moving on to Section 1, Illness as Societal Sacrifice and Redefining the Victim.
Think about how we usually handle these problems. We just lock people away, right? But what if criminals and the mentally ill are essentially nature's warning sirens? This source suggests that our societal leaders, our PhDs, our intellectuals, have completely failed to research the root causes of human struggle. Because they didn't build proper systems to guide people toward fulfilling lives, mental illness and crime just emerge. They're unavoidable symptoms of that neglect. If we just lock away that schizophrenic neighbor or criminal without actually fixing the underlying societal rot, nature will simply force someone else to take their place. Nature will literally create another victim to keep sounding the alarm until we finally study the problem. And this brings us to a really stark contrast between what a prison currently is and what it conceptually should be. Right now, prisons basically act as schools for crime. Someone goes in for a minor offense, meets other criminals, learns new tricks, and comes out ready to commit a much larger offense. Instead, the argument is that these institutions need to be totally transformed into rehabilitation and research centers. They shouldn't be holding pens. They should be laboratories where society actively studies why these individuals fell off the path and actually teaches them a new functional way to live. Which brings us to Section 2, the custodians and the role of spiritual leaders. So, if the intellectual and legal systems are totally broken, who's responsible for fixing it? Well, first, we have to completely redefine the word patient. In this framework, a patient isn't just someone lying in a hospital bed. Essentially, the entire human race is currently a patient. Why? Because here, a patient is defined as anyone suffering from profound, unresolved inner frustration. That means university professors, patients. Super wealthy CEOs, patients. Even that seemingly flawless celebrity on your timeline is technically sick if they are deeply frustrated inside. It completely levels the playing field. Think about it. When everyday people are truly struggling, when they're frustrated and just hitting a wall in their lives, they don't instinctively rush to a medical hospital. They seek out religious and spiritual organizations. They go to Buddhist temples, Christian churches, Taoist retreats, or seek out shamans to find answers to this deep pain of existence. So the true burden of healing this immense societal sickness actually falls on spiritual leaders. But here's the real mystery. Why are these institutions fundamentally failing to heal us? According to the text, they're failing because they just haven't received the proper education to cure the root cause of human frustration. Instead of researching the deep societal and personal reasons why their followers are in such pain, these spiritual leaders are relying on standard rituals or magic or basic doctrines. They might soothe the person temporarily, sure, but they completely miss the root causes. And so they send the patient right back out into the world just as vulnerable as they were before. All right, let's look at Section 3, the mechanism, or the cycle of frustration. It all starts with a feeling we all know, deep, unresolved inner frustration. But when we, and society at large, fail to study or resolve the root cause of this feeling, it creates a massive bottleneck. We just try to ignore it or, push through. But because it's left unaddressed, that energy has nowhere to go. So it physically manifests. The mind fractures, cells mutate, or a person lashes out in criminal acts. It's all just condensed, unexploded frustration. Bringing it right back to our real-world catalyst, that neighbor's erratic behavior, shouting in the dark, hitting the wall, it's not just some random neurological misfiring. It's the ultimate end stage of unaddressed frustration. He is profoundly frustrated. He's completely trapped in his environment, and he completely lacks any tools, vocabulary, or societal support to resolve it. His banging on the wall is literal, but it's also metaphorical. He is hitting the boundary of a society that just doesn't know how to help him. Now for Section 4, the prescription and the philosophy of bowing. Okay, this is where things get really unexpected. We're looking at a massive reinterpretation of a universally recognized sign of respect, bowing. In this philosophical framework, bowing is not just simple worship. It's not just a nice way to show reverence. It's actually defined as a targeted spiritual discipline, essentially a punishment designed to break human arrogance. You're forced to physically lower your body because, metaphorically speaking, you've been holding your head way too high. You've been walking through life thinking you're better than others, refusing to yield, and causing the very friction that led to your frustration in the first place. And what's wild is that this discipline escalates mathematically. It starts with 3 bows. That's a minor discipline for a first offense of arrogance. But let's say you do your 3 bows, you feel a little better, and then you go right back to acting arrogantly in society. Well, the universe hits harder. Now you owe 7 bows. If you still don't change your mindset, you get the 3rd strike, 108 bows. And if you somehow fail after that, you face the ultimate modern discipline, 3,000 bows.
Now, you might be wondering, why 108 bows? The number 108 is highly specific in the spiritual logic. It mathematically represents 3 generations of karma. See, 1 generation is calculated as 36 years. You multiply 36 by 3 generations, and boom, you get 108. So when you're forced to do 108 bows, you aren't just repenting for your own immediate stubbornness, you're being forced to acknowledge a deep generational pattern of arrogance and a total failure to learn.
Interestingly enough, this punishment of 3,000 bows, that's entirely unique to our modern era. In the past, specifically looking back at the Joseon dynasty, the universe operated on a very strict 3 strikes and you're out rule. A 4th chance was simply never granted, so the whole concept of doing 3,000 bows just didn't exist. Today, though, we live in an era of unprecedented spiritual leniency. We actually get that 4th chance to fix our arrogance and resolve our deep-seated frustrations. But the physical toll of that leniency is this grueling, massive punishment of 3,000 bows. So let's wrap this up. If we look through the lens of this framework, if our physical illnesses, our mental health struggles, and even our crimes aren't just random accidents, but are instead direct symptoms of unaddressed societal arrogance and deep ignored frustration, then who among us is actually healthy? It really forces us to look in the mirror, doesn't it? It challenges us to look at our neighbors not with judgment, but with the realization that their visible suffering might just be the loudest symptom of a sickness we all share. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.